There are some numbers starting with E on the label. E codes, those between E100 and E199, show which class of colorant it belongs to, which colorant it is. Or preservatives, E200 to E299. We should be much more careful, especially with products where more than one preservative is used. The most commonly used are sunflower and corn oils. Unlike what people think, they don't come to our kitchens pressed like olive oil made with traditional methods. They are refined over and over again. These go through chemical solvents. Additives are also added to extend their shelf life and to clarify their color. As a result, these turn into completely harmful oils. We have to look for safe sources. This is a must. We must aim to revive the pantry and cellar culture. When we can't do this and absolutely have to buy with a supermarket mindset, we must have a filter and research the ingredients. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. In previous videos, we talked about how halal and clean food are two inseparable concepts, and how they have become as difficult to access as they are important for humans. This process has been systematically made difficult. Unfortunately, humans have been disconnected from real food. We have evolved from a deep-rooted food culture to a lack of culture based on fast and aimless consumption. This transformation is no coincidence. It is the result of a planned consumption system. So much so that people are now so disconnected from the soil and their nature that they cannot even distinguish between fake, artificial food and real food. Today, by the leave of Allah the Almighty, we will talk about our first practical steps against this trend. We will examine what we need to pay attention to and how we should approach products. In other words, we will talk about our transition from awareness to practice. When we pick up a product, we should first ask this question: is this a real product or is it artificial? Real foods are products like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, rice, dry tea, yogurt. Artificial ones are noodles, iced teas with no tea in them, and ketchups, some soft drinks, mayonnaise, etc. These are artificial foods. After making this distinction, the next step is categorizing foods. Foods are divided into three basic categories: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. These are actually the products under which all foods are classified. This classification actually covers all foods. Let's talk about how we should keep these in our lives, how we should use them. For example, fat. The most commonly used are sunflower and corn oils. Unlike what people think, they don't come to our kitchens pressed like olive oil made with traditional methods. They are refined over and over again. These go through chemical solvents. Additives are also added to extend their shelf life and to clarify their color. As a result, these turn into completely harmful oils. As an alternative, we must reach butter and olive oil that we are sure are additive-free, and we must keep them in our cellars today, just like the old pantry tradition. For protein, we can give these examples. There are processed products like salami, sausage, nuggets on the market. These contain large amounts of starches, monosodium glutamate, preservatives, and colorants. As an alternative, reaching meat that we are sure is additive-free, reaching chickpeas, reaching lentils, these are all sources of protein. And after obtaining them safely, protecting them so that we can keep them in the long term is very important in order to move away from a process based on consumer habits. As for carbohydrates, as you know, the breads on the market, the very frequently consumed breads, are made from white flours whose germ and fiber have been removed and whose nutritional value is almost zero. Moreover, dozens of chemicals are used in them for taste, smell, shelf life, rising, and shaping. As a result, we may be full, but these do not nourish us, and unfortunately, our intestinal flora is also depleted. As an alternative, leos whose germ and fiber have been removed and whose nutritional value is almost zero. Moreover, dozens of chemicals are used in them for taste, smell, shelf life, rising, and shaping. As a result, we may be full, but these do not nourish us, and unfortunately, our intestinal flora is also depleted. As an alternative, we must obtain our bulgur, whole wheat and oats, that is, fibrous and prebiotic sources, and we must keep them in a way that preserves them. As a result, when we examine a product, if we ask ourselves this question, namely, has the naturalness of this product been preserved or has it undergone industrial manipulation? These will help us eliminate many harmful foods in the first stage. But let's not forget, as a reality of today, we cannot completely cut our ties with supermarkets. Systematically, especially in big cities, it is not very possible to cut our ties. Therefore, we must know very well which products to choose and which ones to stay away from. When we look at the labels of products, this shouldn't tire us. It shouldn't create a very long and boring situation for us. When we make reading a discipline, this starts to become a habit over time. When we read the label, we must pay close attention to the first line, because especially those first ingredients in the list are the most abundant components in the product. So if the first ingredient of a product is sugar, we will not forget that the most abundant ingredient in that product is sugar, and we will know that that product consists of sugar. Another issue we need to pay attention to is that we shouldn't forget that things can be written under different names. We should also know that names like glucose syrup, fructose syrup, maltodextrin are actually artificial sugar derivatives. There are some other numbers starting with E on the label, E codes. Those between E100 and E199 show which class of colorant it belongs to, which colorant it is, or preservatives, E200 to E299. We should be much more careful, especially with products where more than one preservative is used, or concepts like nature identical on products should not mislead us, should not deceive us. Let's not forget that the front of a product is its advertisement, and the back often does not even reflect the truth. Let's talk about some additives that need special attention. Artificial flavorings stimulate the nervous system and trigger the addiction mechanism. Potassium bromate is used as a raising agent in breads, pastries, and flour products. While it is banned in many countries, unfortunately, we see that it can be used. These create a toxic effect on the kidneys and thyroid. Phosphoric acid, found in cola and energy drinks, causing osteoporosis, an ingredient that brings many problems with it. Phosphates. These are found in fast food style processed meats. It has been found to cause kidney failure, arteriosclerosis, and heart problems. To protect ourselves, our families, and our generations, we must try to obtain our food ourselves. Keep as much as we need, and unfortunately, we have to look for safe sources to obtain what we cannot produce. This is a must. We must aim to revive the pantry and cellar culture. This is a must. We need to make reviving the pantry and cellar culture our goal. When we can't do this and absolutely have to buy with a supermarket mindset, we must have a filter and research the ingredients. At the very least, we need to create a checklist. With this checklist, we should have an opinion about the product. This way, we transform from a simple consumer into a conscious, selective one. The first place these foods full of additives go in the body is our digestive system, our stomach and intestines. It is associated not only with its own diseases, but actually with many different systems. For this reason, the healthier the digestive system is, the more possible it is for a person to be a healthy individual. If we are sick, the way to heal, and if we are not sick, the way to protect our health is through here. And let's not forget that how a person consumes food is as important for their health as what food they consume. Regarding this, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, teaches us a method. We need to fill 1/3 of the stomach with food, 1/3 with water, and leave 1/3 empty. That is, fill it with air. Despite this measure, taught by the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, today we can fill our stomach capacity up to 2 or 3 times. Unfortunately, this paves the way for many stomach problems such as reflux, gastritis, and ulcers. And in our intestines, there are trillions of microbes. These either serve us or harm us. Bacteria with bad flora will definitely cause dozens of diseases and complaints. Therefore, knowing our microbiota as a trust, we must eat accordingly. In future videos, we will talk about the effects of foods on our hormone system and their effects on the neurological system. May Allah the Almighty grant us to turn to the truth in every situation where we put ourselves in danger with our own hands. And praise be to Allah, Lord of the